Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Had the Power to Control Vectors, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Once the boulder was removed, Naruto, Minama, Kakashi, Sasuke, Chio and Kushina rushed into the cave. Guy's team wasn't with them since they had to remove the seals that were keeping the boulder in place. But in the end it wasn't enough because when they entered the cave they saw Gaara's lifeless body and two Akatsuki bastards sitting on him. Kakashi noticed the blonde one was missing an arm. "I'm glad you could make it, you don't know how long we've been waiting for you," Deidara said. "You bastards, what did you do?" Naruto yelled. "I think that's obvious," Deidara said, kicking Gaara's head, which only made Naruto angrier. "But if you still can't figure out, then I'll be glad to give you a demonstration. There's no way I'm going to let you even touch my daughter," Kushina yelled. "That's too bad. I guess I'll just be on my way then," Deidara said with a creepy smile. Then he summoned a white bird thing and hopped on it. The bird then ate Gaara and took off flying right above them. "I think I'm going to take this as a souvenir though. Get back here," Naruto yelled and went chasing after him. "Naruto, wait, that's what he wants you to do," Kakashi said in a vain attempt to stop her, but she was already gone. "Damn it, Sasuke, you're with me, we're going after him. Do you three think you can handle Sasori?" Kakashi asked the girls. "Who do you think you're talking to? Beating this dried up relic will be a cakewalk," Kushina said. "Okay, let's get going, Sasuke," Kakashi said, and they both left to go chase after Naruto. "Aren't you three confident calling me a relic when you have more than your fair share of age on your side?" Sasori said. "How about you give us the antidote for the poison you used on Kankuro and we won't hurt you too badly?" Minama said. "And what if I don't have it on me? What if I gave it to someone else for safekeeping, like a certain red-headed girl for instance?" Sasori said with no small amount superiority. "You shut up about her," Minama said as she started running at Sasori. She only got a couple steps when Sasori started launching hundreds of kunais at her. Minama stopped dead in her track, her eyes wide and fear on her face. There was no way she could dodge all of them. Maybe she could avoid any lethal shots if they were regular kunais, but she could see the purple poisonous substance on them. Just when Minama thought the kunais were going to hit her, her body started moving on its own, dodging the kunais up until they stopped coming. "What just happened?" Minama said, looking back at Kushina and Chio only to see that Chio had several chakra strings connected to Minama. "Don't get so worked up, he's obviously lying," Chio said as she pulled on the chakra strings, which forced Minama back to them. "Well, the Hokage must have done a terrible job training you, as you and your sister ran headfirst into a trap," Sasori said. Minama glared at him, but she couldn't hide her embarrassment since he was right. "Don't worry about it, Minama," Kushina with her bright motherly smile. "You're still young, so there's still plenty of time for you to improve, you just need more experience." "What makes you think that she'll live long enough to get that experience?" Sasori said. "Because I'm helping her, and my friend here is going to do everything in her power to make sure she doesn't get hurt," Kushina said, looking at Chio for confirmation, to which Chio replied with a smile. "Now Minama, watch closely because your Car-san is going to show this puppet what happens when he messes with her children." Golden chains started appearing from Kushina's palms and two more from her shoulder blades, making a total of 4. They all also had a spike at the end. Then at speeds that Minama could barely follow, they slashed at Sasori. Sasori used his tail thing to block at the chains at speeds just as fast. Minama was amused. The series of sparks whenever the two weapons collided was just amazing. Minama knew this is what it meant to be S-class, to have power so far above your peers. Minama was so proud of her Car-san and wondered if one day she would be able to use her chains like that. The exchange of blows went on, but it was soon becoming apparent that Kushina was whining. It wasn't because she was faster or had more skill, it was simply because she had 4 chains and Sasori only had 1 tail. Then the climax began. Kushina used one of her chains to wrap around Sasori's tail, stopping him from blocking the 3 remaining chains. They slammed into the puppet, smashing it to pieces as a person covered in a sheet jumped out to avoid being killed. "I'm impressed you managed to destroy my puppet on your own rather easily, but you are the wife of the 4th Hokage, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised," Sasori said, turning towards them so they could see his face. No, that can't be. How? Chio said in absolute shock, and everyone could see why. Sasori, who had left the village over 20 years ago, looked like he was in his teens. I was displeased with my odd body, so I made a new one. Sasori said in reply. It doesn't matter if you look 10 or 90. I'm still going to beat you down, and then you're going to tell me how you got my daughter and her friends to join you. Kushina said, looking at Sasori angrily. I'm well aware at how angry you must be at me right now, but if you think that you can beat me, then you're sorely mistaken. Sasori said, pulling out a scroll. Actually, I should say you're sorely mistaken if you think you can beat him. Sasori summoned a puppet that didn't look like anything special to Minima, but Kushina and Chio knew that this was bad news. The third Kazekage, Chio said. Naruto dodged another clay bird which exploded just beside her. This guy was really pissing Naruto off. He had been flying away on his bird the entire time and occasionally threw a clay bird bomb at Naruto. They weren't threatening since he only threw one at a time, but they were starting to make Naruto's ears ring, which only aggravated her more, added with the fact that Naruto didn't have any long-range jutsus to hit Deodara with. Naruto didn't know why Deodara was seemingly leading her on a giant goose chase, but Naruto was getting really tired of it. She was about to increase her speed, but a voice stopped her. You really shouldn't run off like that, Kakashi said, appearing beside her along with Sasuke. But he has Gaara, Naruto said, trying to argue. Naruto, we're a team and teams do things together, Kakashi said rather harshly. Fine, Naruto said with a pout. So how are we going to get him? Kakashi looked up at Deodara, who didn't look happy that he had two more guests. That's easy, Kakashi said, giving Naruto an eye smile. We'll shoot him out of the sky. While Naruto and Kakashi were talking, Deodara was in deep thought. He now had two unwanted guests and they had managed to talk some sense into the Jinchuriki. Deodara had planned to get her as far away from the cave as possible, then blow her sky high, but since it seemed like Sasori had failed to keep them all in the cave, that plan was out the window. Or was it? All he would have to do is get the Jinchuriki riled up again and he knew just what to do. Alright, I understand, Naruto said to Kakashi. Good, now we can. Kakashi was cut off by a clay bird flying right at him. He dodged out of the way and the bird flew right past him. What was that? Sasuke asked. It's a clay bird, but normally it explodes, Naruto said, wondering why it didn't. It might have been a dud, Kakashi said, but he had a hard time believing that. Let's just continue with the plan. Kakashi lifted up his headband to reveal his Sharingan. Sasuke also activated his Sharingan. Phoenix Sage Jutsu, Sasuke yelled, spilling fireballs from his mouth that started tracking Deodara. You'll have to do better than that, Deodara said, maneuvering his bird to dodge all of Sasuke's fireballs. Sasuke, watch out, Kakashi yelled. Sasuke was confused since he didn't see anything coming, but less than a second later a clay bird burst through one of Sasuke's fireball and was directly in front of him. Sasuke managed to dodge it, but it blew up beside him and singed his arm and clothes. Damn, he used my own fire jutsu to hide his jutsu, Sasuke said. That's what it means to be S-class. It's not just about high-level jutsus, it's how they can use everything to their advantage and catch their opponent off guard, Kakashi said. Just look at Deodara, he hasn't used any especially powerful jutsus, yet he's still managing to fight the three of us. But you're S-class too, so shouldn't you be equal, Naruto said. Not all S-classes are the same, Kakashi said, but Sasuke and Naruto noticed he had his eye smile. Luckily I'm a pretty powerful S-class. Suddenly Kakashi disappeared in a pop of smoke. Deodara's eyes widened, seeing what he knew was a clone just disappear, so where was the real one? Deodara got his answer when Kakashi jumped up in front of him and landed on his bird. When did he get in front of me? Deodara thought as Kakashi started throwing kunais at him. I thought I told you you'd have to do better than that, Deodara said, jumping off his bird in order to dodge Kakashi's kunais. As Deodara was falling, Kakashi saw him do a hand sign and immediately jumped off the bird right before it exploded. Kakashi got back into formation with Sasuke and Naruto. Meanwhile, it looked like Deodara was going to plummet to the ground. However, an exact duplicate of the clay bird Deodara was previously riding came and picked him up along with eating Gaara as he fell out from the other bird. He wasn't only one riding on that bird though. I got your message and got here as fast as I could, Mito said. It's a good thing you did, or I would be a mess on the ground right now. Deodara said with a chuckle. Mito, Naruto said, not believing that her sister was having such a casual conversation with the guy who killed Gaara. That's why the bird didn't explode, it was a message for Mito. Sasuke said. Just keep calm, Mito's an enemy now and we have to treat her as such. Kakashi said mainly to Naruto. Naruto didn't reply, she was only focused on Deodara with absolute hate in her eyes. After Mito finished her conversation with Deodara, she turned around to face them. Hey Naruto, long time no see. Oh wait, I guess we did stop you from saving Gaara, sorry about that, but hey, look on the bright side, at least you can experience a fraction of the hate I felt for you during my time living with you. Mito said, getting angrier with each passing word. Mito, I'm telling you I've changed, please believe me. Naruto pleaded. Here we go again, the princess doesn't get what she wants, so all she can do is cry, or better yet, why don't you use some of your demonic chakra? Mito said, smiling. Come on Naruto, do it, you've never hesitated before. I won't. Naruto yelled. Well, we'll just see about that. Mito said, pointing at the group with her hands made to look like finger guns. Dual lightning gun. Mito said, and started firing a small burst of lightning at them. Deodara supported her by throwing clay birds at them, putting them complete on the defensive. If this keeps up, we'll be killed. Sasuke said. What do we do, Kakashi? Naruto asked. Don't worry, you two haven't been the only ones training these past 3 years. Kakashi said as he closed his Sharingan eye. What is he doing? Mito thought as she focused her fire on him. Kakashi suddenly opened his eye and gave Mito a brief glance at his Sharingan, which looked very different from Sasuke or Hitomi. Then he was gone. What the hell? Mito yelled, looking everywhere for Kakashi, but not seeing anything. Mito looked to Deodara for help and didn't like what she saw. Deodara didn't look panicked, but the way his eyes moved let Mito know that he couldn't find Kakashi either. Suddenly something that Mito could only describe as a vortex appeared right beside them. Mito could feel it trying to suck them in and suck at Deodara. He flipped the bird over so they were standing on the bottom of it with chakra in their feet. This was only a temporary solution, however, as the vortex was ripping the bottom of the bird off. They only had one choice at that point. They jumped off the bird onto the ground below. They were now face to face with Naruto and Sasuke, no longer having the advantage of flight. Kakashi also returned to his group, blood dripping for his Sharingan eye. Now that we're on equal footing, the real fight can begin. Kakashi said. One touch, that was all it would take to put them out of the fight. The thought sent shivers through Minamo's entire body. Ever since Sasori had released the third Kazekage lined with poison weapons from head to toe, the fight had taken a turn for the worst. Getting close to Sasori was impossible with his puppet in the way. Hell, it was taking both Kushina and Chio with her 2 puppets that she called the mother and the father to keep up with the damn thing. Minima herself wasn't doing much, just throwing a kunai every once in a while or using her chains to try and hit the third Kazekage, but she had to stay very far away from it as per her Car-san's orders. It didn't take long for Sasori to destroy the mother and father, leaving Kushina basically to fend for herself. Kushina wrapped a chain around the puppet's leg and threw it to the ground, but it just got right back up, not the least bit phased. Then it went on another barrage using every kind of weapon imaginable. Kushina did a good job avoiding all the weapons, but they knew that they couldn't keep this up because while Kushina was exhausting herself with all that dodging, Sasori had barely moved. The only solution was to destroy that puppet, but what could Minima do to help? Everything she did, the puppet would dodge it or block it like an afterthought. Had nothing changed, was she still as weak as she was when she fought Naruto? Minima thought she had made leaps and bounds since then, but here she was just standing her being useless, hoping that someone faster and stronger would take care of everything. Minima suddenly felt a hand on her shoulder and looked up to see Chio. You're worried, aren't you? She said. Was it really that obvious? Minima said, looking down. I'm just so useless. Now this is not the time to feel sorry for yourself. Chio said. I can't do much else. Minima said, looking at the fight going on in front of her. You know, when faced with such overwhelming odds, there are 2 things people will do. Chio said. They either decide that what they're trying to do is impossible and give up, or they will decide that no matter how bad it looks or how little of a chance they have, they'll still try because they know that one move can change everything. That would be great, but unfortunately for me, I haven't been able to hit with any move, so I guess I'll just have to believe it's impossible. Minima said. Then I guess you can give up. And when your sister is killed just like Gaara, I guess you can give up then too, because let me tell you something, it's not going to get any easier. Choji said, running off to rejoin the fight and hopefully give Kushina some support. Minima watched the fight with a blank look in her eyes. She didn't know what she was looking at. Was she looking at a tried and sweaty Kushina? No, it hurt too much to look at her Car-san doing her best to win. Was she looking for an opening where the puppet could be hit by Minima since she had long since been inactive? No, Minima could see Sasori's eyes dart over to her every so often. He might not think much of her, but he hadn't forgotten her. Maybe she was looking just because then she'd be able to say that she was there when the first Akatsuki member was killed. Minima was sure that no matter how bad it looked, Kushina would win. Not even when Kushina was panting for breath and barely able to dodge did Minima think she would lose, but that dream came crashing down when Kushina was finally hit. It was hardly even a scratch on her arm, nothing that a normal person would even have to worry about, but it broke skin and that's all that mattered. The poison was inside her and there was nothing she could do. Kushina immediately broke in a flush, sweat dripping down her face worse than ever and her legs were starting to shake. Minima couldn't believe it, her Car-san was going to die and had just been standing there watching. She had to do something. Time seemed to go in slow motion as the puppet got closer to Kushina. There was no way she had the strength to dodge it and Chio wasn't going to be able to help. 1,000 plans seemed to rush through Minima's mind, but each one just seemed like it would get Kushina killed faster. Minima tried to think about all she had seen. There had to be some way to stop, if only for an instant. Then Minima thought about everything she knew about puppeteers. Then she remembered how Hanabi had dealt with Chio and this gave her a plan. Minima shot a chain which the puppet dodged just as easily as before, but what Sasori didn't know was that Minima hadn't been aiming for the puppet. Minima smiled as her chain wrapped around the chakra strings that Sasori was using to control the puppet and gave it a nice tug. The strings bunched up at one point, making it impossible for Sasori to control. Instead of taking the time to fix his current string, he let go of them and shot new ones at the puppet. Kushina had seen what Minima was trying to do, however, and used the last of her strength to shot a chain through the puppet before Sasori was able to get his new string to connect. Minima felt pride in being to help her Car-san, but that quickly disappeared as Kushina fell to the ground coughing up blood. Car-san! Minima screamed as she ran up to Kushina. Hey, that was some good thinking. How'd you come up with it? Kushina said weakly, trying to force herself to smile. I remembered how Hanabi cut the string that Chio connected to her sword and realized I could attack the strings instead of the puppet, but that doesn't matter right now. What about you? Minima said, tears running down her face. I'll be fine once you beat Sasori and get the antidote. Kushina said, going into a coughing fit. But there's no way I can beat him without your help, and what if he doesn't have the antidote on him? Minima said. He'll have the antidote. Chio said, walking over to join them. And Minima, you won't be alone, I'll be here to help. Minima smiled at Chio, thankful for the help. You think you can keep yourself alive while we kick my ungrateful grandson's ass? Chio asked Kushina. Who do you think you're talking to? Kushina said. I'm happy you three are getting in some bounding time, but I don't like to wait, so we're going to have to hurry this up. Sasori said as he brought up the still active third Kazekage. It had a huge hole in its chest and looked a little wobbly, but it could still fight. Damn, I thought I destroyed it. Kushina said. You just relax, we'll deal with it. Chio said, picking her up and moving her to the side of the cave away from the battle. This battle has gone on too long, so I hope you don't mind if I just end it now. Sasori said as his puppet started spitting out some sort of grey dust. What is that? Minima asked Chio. It's the jutsu that made the third the most feared out of all the Kazekages, iron sand. Chio explained as the sand combined to form a huge block and a triangular prism. Then the block came slamming down towards them. Minima and Chio dodged out of the way only to barely dodge the prism. Minima shot a chain at the sand only for it to bounce off harmlessly. That's not going to work, these things are almost indestructible. We're going to have to destroy the puppet to stop them. Chio said. That was hard enough without two giant things trying to crush us. Minima yelled. It's already heavily damaged, one good strike should be enough. Chio said as she used her chakra string to attach to the prism and throw it off course, if only by a couple inches. Fine, Minima said as she rushed the puppet, but just because it was using its iron said didn't mean it couldn't defend it itself. It fought Minima in pure taijutsu this time, probably because all of its weapon mechanics had been damaged or destroyed by Kushina attack. It also helped that it was a lot more sluggish than before, giving Minima hope that she could actually handle it, but just like always, things wouldn't be that easy. Minima noticed a huge shadow below her and knew she had to get out of there. The block of sand fell just barely missing Minima as she moved out of the way, but once the block landed it swung to the left and hit Minima dead on. She went flying towards the wall of the cave wall. She hit it, creating a crater. Minima didn't have time to think about the pain she was in as the prism came at her. Minima pulled herself off the wall, letting the prism hit the space she had just occupied. Now Minima knew how Kushina felt having to run around a dodge all the time. The fight had barely begun yet Minima was already running out of breath. She didn't know how much longer she could keep this up as she had to jump out of the way of yet another attack from the block. Chio was trying her best using her chakra strings to try and throw the objects somewhere else, but the iron sand was just too heavy and Sasori had too great of a control over it. This gave Minima an idea, however. Minima stopped dead in her tracks and waited for the block to hover right over her head before dodging it as it came down. Then as quickly as she could Minima placed her palm on the ground and 4 chakra chains shot out from the ground. They went up and over the block and connected at the top. The block was now anchored to the ground by Minima chain. Sasori tried to move the block and break the chains, but they were too strong. The same couldn't be said for Minima, however. Every time the block bashed against the chains it felt like Minima's arm was going to rip out of her socket since she had to hold the chains in place. Minima knew she wouldn't be able to hold it there for long, so she ran towards the puppet, extending the chain as she went. Sasori wasn't just going to let her rush his puppet that easily. The prism moved above Minima's head and right when it was about to drop the block bashed against the chains in the opposite direction, forcing Minima to stop. There was no way Minima could dodge now and Sasori smirked knowing that he would only have Chio to deal with. But something happened, the prism veered a little bit and missed Minima, and Sasori knew exactly what had happened. Chio, Sasori growled. Chio was panting as it was hardly easy to move that huge thing with her chakra strings. Minima, go for it, Choji screamed. Hi, Minima yelled as she got closer and closer to the puppet. I don't think so, Sasori yelled as his puppet tried to punch Minima. Sasori realized too late though that the puppet was too slow due to its damage and Minima had a blue sphere in her hand. Rasengan. Minima yelled as she sent the Rasengan through the puppet's chest, completely tearing it apart, and with the fall of the puppet the sand could no longer hold its shape and fell to the ground. Looks like you lost your ace, Chio said with a smirk. That isn't my only ace, Sasori said darkly. He took off his cloak revealing his puppet body. There was a cable in his stomach and he sported 2 saw blades from his back. He also opened a compartment on the left side of his cheeks along with a scroll. Minima watched in horror as 100 puppets emerged. Let's see you stop this, Sasori said. Chio hissed. I promised myself I would never use this again, but it looks like I don't have a choice. Chio said, pulling out a scroll that released her own army of puppets, although it was only 1/10 the size of Sasori's. What ensued next couldn't be called anything else than a mash pit. There was no strategy, just take down as many puppets as you could. Swords clashing against swords, chains hitting wood and so on. When it was all over, nothing had been gained. All of Chio's puppets were destroyed and so were Sasori's. Sasori was far from beat, however, as he lunged at Minima using his blades to nearly chop off her arm. Minima was luckily and by sheer panic managed to dodge, but there was no questioning it. Sasori was fast, far too fast for Minima to keep up, and since Chio no longer had any puppets, Minima didn't know how much help she'd really be. Then Sasori shot his cable at Minima and no amount of panic was going to help her dodge this time. The cable laced in poison cut the side of Minima's stomach. Minima could feel the poison burning her body as it entered her bloodstream. It made the giant gash she had feel like nothing. Minima collapsed to her knees, already seeing black. Minima could hear Sasori saying something, but his voice felt like it was miles away. All Minima could pick up was something about hating to wait and how he was going to end this. Minima didn't need to hear the rest to know she was screwed. Even if Sasori didn't hack her into piece with his saw blade, she would die from the poison or bleed out from the gash on her stomach. Sasori had apparently already decided her fate as Minima saw him lung at her through the blurry blackness that made up her eyesight. Minima was prepared for the cold metal to cut into her flesh, but something else happened in the middle of his leap. Sasori suddenly face planted on the ground. Minima was wondering what the hell had happened when she noticed a gold chain wrapped around Sasori's leg. Minima realized that Kushina had saved her. No, not just saved her, but had given her that chance that Chio had been talking about. One move is all it takes to chance everything, Minima thought as she shot her own chain at Sasori. It didn't wrap around him, it just landed on top of him, but that was all Minima needed. She had been practicing this move for the past 3 years and it was finally time to see if it paid off. Minima used the last of her strength to force her lightning chakra through her chain. It acted as a conductor and Sasori was the lightning rod. The lightning electrocuted Sasori's body until it started smoking. Minima hadn't noticed it before, but there was some sort of cylinder in Sasori's chest and it seemed to be smoking the worst. Then Minima blacked out. Gaara's body landed behind Deodara and Mito, kicking up dust. This only served to make Naruto angrier at Deodara. Deodara was not happy. His plan was out the window and he doubted that Kakashi would just let him create another bird and fly away on it. Also, with one missing arm, he wasn't exactly equipped for close-range combat. Deodara was thinking that they just cut their losses and leave, but one look at Naruto told him that getting away wasn't going to be an option. I guess I'll just have to blow you up, Deodara said as he got his hand-mouth working on some of his art. I don't think so, Sasuke said as he started up his Chidori and rushed Deodara. Mito withdrew her swords and pointed them at Sasuke. Lightning rife, Mito said as lightning flowed from the hilt of her sword to the tip and then shot a burst of pure lightning at Sasuke. It was much faster and more powerful than when she had just been using her fingers, but with the Sharingan Sasuke was able to dodge without losing momentum. Deodara couldn't create his art soon enough, so he did the only thing he could. Deodara jumped over Sasuke as he ran right under him. This on course left Deodara as a very easy target, something that Kakashi picked up on. He created another one of those vortexes that had caused them to crash. Deodara couldn't move much in the air, but he managed to maneuver just enough so the vortex didn't kill him. That wasn't to say it was a successful dodge as the vortex ripped off his other arm. Now armless Deodara had no way to make his art, which put they in a pretty bad position. The only good news was that Kakashi looked down for the count. His eye was bleeding worse than ever and he was on one knee. Deodara didn't have time to admire Kakashi because Sasuke came around and tried to send his Chidori through Deodara's chest. Mito saw this and moved to intercept him. Sasuke was surprised when his Chidori was stopped by Mito's sword. Sasuke had always thought that the Chidori could price anything, so it was a huge shock when Mito's sword not only stopped it, but started absorbing it. Sasuke backed away quickly, not knowing what was happening. How the hell did you do that? Sasuke asked, looking at his hand to see if there was anything wrong. The Kiba is used to channel real lightning. Your little lighting chakra has nothing on that, Mito said with a smirk. I just used my sword as a lightning rod and absorbed the Chidori. Sasuke didn't know what to say. If what Minima said was true, then anything lightning attack would be worthless as long as she could block with her sword. Wondering what to do, Sasuke looked back at Gaara's body and quickly ran for it. He threw Gaara over his shoulder and made a large loop around Minima so he was back on the side with Naruto and Kakashi. Sasuke was wondering why Mito hadn't tried to stop him. He looked over to see that Deodara staring off into space while Mito seemed to be waiting for orders from him. Several seconds passed before Deodara regained his senses. He muttered, "Understood," to seemingly no one before turning to Mito and saying, "We're done here, it's time to go." Mito didn't question it. "Hey, you can't just walk away," Naruto yelled. She couldn't believe them. They started this fight, killed Gaara, and now they were just going leave on the flip of a dime. "Why not? You got Gaara back," Deodara said mockingly. "You killed him," Naruto yelled, running straight at him knowing he had no way to defend it himself. Naruto pulled out a kunai and was prepared to stab him through the chest. Let him feel all the pain he inflicted on Gaara. Naruto kunai never hit flesh, instead it hit the hard steel of Mito blade. "Mito, this doesn't concern you, get out of my way," Naruto practically growled and started sending wind chakra to her kunai. "I won't," Mito said with little emotion as she channeled lightning chakra to her blade. To Naruto's surprise, it started cutting through her kunai. Behind Mito, Naruto could see Deodara shove his face into a bag that was laying on the ground, and when he came back up he was chewing on something, no doubt trying to make another bird. "Get out of my way," Naruto yelled, pushing down harder. "Naruto, stop," Kakashi said, trying to get up but fell back down to his knees. Naruto was confused. Why would Kakashi want her to stop? Deodara was trying to get away and she needed to make him pay. "I see you haven't changed," Mito said, breaking Naruto out of her thoughts, and that's when she looked at her hands and realized what she had done. She was leaking demonic chakra at least a tail's worth. The shock was so much that Naruto backed off to try and control herself. This gave Deodara enough time to complete his bird and hop on it. Come on, let's get going, he said to Mito, who hoped on with him. Wait, Naruto yelled after using some trick Jiraiya had taught her to contain the demonic chakra. It didn't do any good though, as the bird took off and flew away. Naruto was about to chase after them, but Kakashi stopped her. Stop, Naruto, we'll never catch them, Kakashi said, finally getting back on his feet even if they were pretty shaky. But they're going to get away, Naruto said. It doesn't matter, we wouldn't be able to catch them anyways. We should head back to the cave. Kushina and the others might need our help, Kakashi said. Hi, Naruto said half-heartedly and followed him. It took a while to get back because of Kakashi's overuse of the Sharingan, but it didn't really matter. The fight had been over for a long time and it was not a pretty sight. Chio was bandaging up a horrible wound on a very sick-looking Minima's side while Kushina was stilling off to the side looking pretty sick herself. What happened? Sasuke said as he looked at the mess of puppets all over the place. We won, Chio said. But Kushina and Minima here got poisoned. Luckily Sasori had 3 antidotes on him, so I was able to save the both of them and we'll still have one for Kankuro. They don't look fine, Naruto said. It doesn't work instantly, give it some time, Chio said as she finished the bandaging and walked over to Sasuke. Give me Gaara, she said. What for? Sasuke asked. Just do it, Chio said, and Sasuke handed him over. Chio laid Gaara on the ground and kneeled over him. What are you doing? Naruto asked. The world doesn't need an old fart like me anymore. It would be much better off if a young person with fresh dreams came back, Chio said, doing some hand seals. Wait, what are you saying? Naruto said. Make sure to get that antidote back to Kankuro, Chio said as she placed her hands on Gaara's chest and closed her eyes. Chio, wait, Naruto said, but it was too late. Chio fell over dead just as Gaara opened his eyes. Team Guy arrived shortly after and they headed off to Suna. It took them a long time to make it back to Suna, mostly because Kakashi, Minima and Kushina were all injured. Gaara also had to deal with the fact he died and was no longer a Jinchuriki. He didn't talk the entire way back. Naruto had just explained what had happened and he demanded they make it back to Suna as fast as they could so they could save Kankuro. It wasn't just Gaara who didn't talk. Everyone was in deep thought, mostly about the appearance of Mito, Hanabi and Hitomi and of course the death of Chio. The only real conversation was a debate on if they should send a messenger toad back to Minato. Kushina shot that down, saying that she wanted to tell him herself, so they all just focused on getting back to Suna. But in the end none of it mattered. When they got back to Suna, Kankuro was dead and had been for a long time. Hi, Naruto said, cutting off the mental link with Pian. So Sasori went and got himself killed and somehow Gaara survived. Hiden said. It doesn't matter, we still got the one tail, so we've broke even. Besides, it won't stay that way for long because we've made it, Naruto said with his psychopathic grin, looking at Kumogakur. Let's get to work. Omake. Toby, I thought we told you to defend the cave. Where were you? Mito yelled at a very frightened Toby. I was going to, but I had to, fight off an alien invasion. Yeah, that's what happened. There were millions of them coming down from their spaceships. They demeaned that I give them all the dango in the world, but I wouldn't let them have it, so a massive fight ensued. It was hard, but I managed to use my amazing just to push them back, but sadly by the time I was done the Leaf Nin had already gotten to the cave and Sasori dead. What kind of friend am I to let him die in his time of need? Toby said, starting to cry like a baby. Toby, that it the dumbest excuses I've ever heard. Mito yelled and proceeded to beat the crap out of Toby. While Mito was busy, Hanabi asked Hitomi a question that had been bothering her for a little while now. Hey Hitomi, don't you feel like we're forgetting something? Yeah, but I just can't think of what it could be, Hitomi replied. Meanwhile, far away from the girls was a lake that had a certain someone in it. How long is it going to take those Leaf Nin to get here? I feel like the ceiling should have been over by now, Sugetsu thought. The Leaf Ninja stayed in Suna for a little bit while Minima, Kushina and Kakashi got their wounds patched up and to stay for Kankuro's and Chio's funeral. Temari had probably been the most affected after all, for that one day she had thought she had lost both her brothers, and technically she had. Gaara wasn't in any better shape. He blamed himself for Kankuro's death, But he also blamed the Akatsuki, and by the time the Leaf Nin left they could feel as dark aura coming from Gaara, not so different from the aura he had during the Chunin exams. So the girls are part of the Akatsuki, Minato said after the group gave their report, not letting even the slightest of emotion show. Hi, Kushina said. And the one tail has been extracted. Minato said. Hi, Kushina said. I see you can have the rest of the day off. Minato said to the group. But Toussaint, what are we going to do about Mito and the other girls? Naruto asked in a panic. I'll deal with it, you are excused. Minato said. Now Minato didn't normally drink, but that night he only saw the bottom of the bottle. Keeping the girls on the down low would be harder than even now. It seemed his life was a never-ending tale of sorrow. His family had been cut in half, with Mito part of the Akatsuki and Naruto an S-class nin doing who knows what. Minato just didn't know what to do. Should he focus on getting Naruto? Should focus on getting the girls? Should he focus on making Minima and Naruto stronger? Who knew? The problems didn't stop there. Minato had to tell Itachi and Hiashi about Hanabi and Hitomi. While Itachi took it as well as Minato had expected him to, Hiashi had given Minato all his thought on what should be done about his daughter in a voice that may have well been yelling for the Hyuga clan. At least they were all able to agree on something, and that was to not put any of the girls in a bingo book. After all, no one wanted the Byakugan and the Sharingan to be hunted down. What a day this was turning out to be. Two Kumo Junin were standing guard in front of a large cave where Yugito trained. It was a pretty boring job since nothing ever happened. That was until today. They noticed a figure wearing a black cloak with red clouds on it and a straw hat walking towards them. Who are you and what is your business here? The Junin asked. The figure didn't respond and continued to move closer. The two Junin took out kunais and were prepared to fight the intruder. I'll ask again, what are you doing here? The Junin said. The figure still didn't respond. If you won't answer my question, then I'll have no choice. The Junin was cut off as the figure suddenly lunged at them, going for walking speed to faster than most people could see in an instant. The figure grabbed both of their faces and killed them. They fell to the ground, blood dripping from their eyes, noses and mouths. It was a practically gruesome sight. Damn, what did you do to them? Hiden said, walking up to the bodies and admiring his partner's handiwork. I just reversed their blood flow. Naruto said, taking off his hat. Human bodies can't handle that, so it causes most of their organs to explode, most notably the heart. So you can kill people just by touching them? Hiden asked with more than a little interest. I can, Naruto said. I realized that even though my defense is near impenetrable, my offensive was lacking. You call being able to create cyclones, shooting pebbles at high speeds, and that stupid ball of yours lacking? Hiden said. Yes, I do. Now come on, we've got a Jinchuriki to bag. Naruto said, walking into the cave. It's not like we're in a rush, I mean, come on, this place is on the outskirts of the village. It's almost like they want us to attack their Jinchuriki. Hiden said, following Naruto with his hands behind his head. Most people don't like a Jinchuriki living inside the village, so she is probably forced to live out here. Naruto said. So they're all going to be this boring? Hiden said. Then how about I make it a little more interesting for you, a female voice said. Then 4 claws shot through Hiden's body, piercing his heart. Naruto looked back to see that their target had somehow snuck up behind them. She was smiling, obvious proud of herself for killing one of the invaders, or so she thought. You should really be more careful, Naruto said to Hiden. Hey, you shut up, Hiden yelled, swing his scythe behind him, almost cutting off Yugito's head. Luckily she dogged just in time, pulling her claws out of Hiden's body, earning a grunt and a very vocal compliant form. The man. Hiden, be careful, we can't kill her, Naruto said, but didn't show too much concern. But that fucking hurt, Hiden yelled in protest. While Naruto and Hiden were having their little spat, Yugito was on the verge of panic. She had stabbed that guy through the heart and nothing. Not to mention that these two were having an argument right in front of her. They weren't even trying. They were that confident. Well, she would just have to show them that she wasn't to be underestimated. If shouldn't couldn't kill the first one, then she'd just have to take care of the other one. She ran up behind Naruto and swung her claws at his neck, but right when they hit him they broke. Yugito looked at the stubs that used to be her claws in shock. Both her attacks that should have killed them didn't even affect them, and worse than that, it looked like she had gotten Naruto's attention. Hiden, I believe we've been rather rude, our guest has gotten impatient. Naruto said, turning around to face Yugito. Fine, we'll deal with this first. Hiden said. Now that Yugito could see their faces, she knew she was in trouble. She recognized them as the S-class nins Naruto and Hiden. Yugito didn't know why those two were working together, but it hardly mattered, she needed to get help. Yugito turned around and sprinted to the exit. Oh no you don't, Naruto said, hitting the side of the cave. Yugito didn't know how he did it, but he caused a cave in, but just at the entrance to the cave and nowhere else. There goes your exit, so why not just give up, it will save us some trouble. Hiden said mockingly. Aren't you guys cocky? Yugito said, looking for a way out of this predicament. Well, when our target tries to run away before we've even started fight, I think we're allowed to. Naruto said, reaching into his pockets. Yugito didn't take the time to find out what he was going to pull out as she threw 2 smoke bombs at them. Then jumped up to the roof of the cave using chakra to stick to it, like a cat, and crawling above them. The smoke blocked her view of the 2 ninja, but she could see something being shot out of the smoke. They looked like pebbles, but Yugito quickly dismissed that thought. What ninja would use pebbles as a weapon? Yugito made it to a wide open room that she used for training. There wasn't a way out from here, but at least it gave her more space to fight, and she knew it like the back of her hand. It only took a couple seconds for Naruto and Hiden to make their way into the room, and when they did, Yugito unloaded on them, kunais, shurikens, knives, spears, everything. Yugito thought that even an immortal would be ripped to shears after that attack, so it came as a huge surprise when more than half the weapons she had thrown came right back at her. Yugito dropped to her stomach, letting all the weapons fly over her. When she got back to her feet, she saw that Hiden was pulling out some of the weapons that had hit, but Naruto didn't have a scratch on him. You fucking bitch, that hurt. Hiden yelled, ripping a kunai from his arm. I'll let you handle this. She's your target, Naruto said, walking off to the side, shocking Yugito. Fine by me. You just get in my way, Hiden said. Yugito might have been surprised by Naruto's action, but she was glad. Now she would only have to fight one of these freaks. At least until Naruto decided he wanted to intervene, but now wasn't the time to think about that. Yugito shoot a fireball at Hiden, starting the fight. Hiden jumped over it, throwing his scythe at Yugito. Yugito noticed that the scythe was attached to a cable and realized that Hiden would be able to control it even if he wasn't holding it. Taking this into account, she blocked it with her claws, the ones that hadn't been broken by Naruto, instead of dodging, but it didn't prove to be as helpful as Yugito wanted to be. Hiden rushed her with a spear. Yugito couldn't move because she was still blocking the scythe, so she brought her foot up and extended the claws on her toes to block the spear. It worked, but Yugito was now severely off balance, something that Hiden took advantage of. He swept her leg out from under her, causing her to fall. This also had the added consequence of the scythe and the spear being able to attack her while she was on the ground. Yugito rolled out of the way, but she felt the scythe cut her back. She got back to her feet and put some distance between her and Hiden, but Hiden wasn't going after her. Instead, he was looking at the blood on his scythe and smiling. Then he started drawing some seal on the ground. Hiden, remember, you can't kill her, Naruto said. Relax, I'm not going to kill her, Hiden said as he finished his seal. Yugito didn't like what she was hearing. If Naruto was telling Hiden not to kill her, then that seal must have the power to do so. If that was the case, then she would have to keep him from activating it. It was time to show this too why Jinchurikis are so feared. Hiden and Naruto watched as Yugito started leaking demonic chakra until it completely engulfed her, just leaving the 2 tails in her place. That was quick, Naruto commented before the cat brought its massive paw down on Hiden. Hiden, knowing that this would just inflict damage on the Jinchuriki, stayed where he was. Naruto, however, didn't have the same idea. He shot off from his current position and tackled Hiden out of his seal. Hey, what the hell? Hiden said, getting to his feet. You idiot, if that attack would have landed, you would have been crushed, Naruto said. So I would have survived, what's the big deal? Hiden said. You might have survived, but I doubt our target would have been able to, Naruto said, staring down the 2 tails. Oh, that's right, Hiden said sheepishly. Whatever, just recreate your seal while I keep this beast distracted, and this time make sure not to kill her, Naruto said. I thought you said you weren't going to help, Hiden said. That was only because I forgot how much of an idiot you were, Naruto said. Hiden looked a little offended by Naruto's comment, but he backed off to go make his seal. Now it's just you and me, fuzzball, Naruto said. The two-tail, apparently not liking being referred to as a fuzzball, tried to swat Naruto with one of its tails. Naruto just sighed. When would they learn? No matter how hard you hit or how fast you are, you can't get past his reflection. The tail hit Naruto and of course was reflected. Since the tail was just chakra, it didn't break, but it was sent back and slammed into the cave wall. The two tails, not sure what had happened, tried again, but it ended in the same result, and this happened again and again until the two tails let out a scream of pain. Naruto could see that Hiden had complete his seal and now had his spear sticking out of his gut. Apparently the pain was too great for Yugito to handle as the demonic chakra receded, leaving Yugito screaming in agony. Make it stop, Yugito yelled, falling to her stomach. Hiden did not. He stabbed himself over and over again until Yugito couldn't take it anymore and passed out. Too easy, Hiden said. The two tails has been captured, Naruto said as Hiden made his way to Yugito and flung her over his shoulder. Let's get out of here. They walked back to the entrance of the cave where boulders were still covering it, but one touch from Naruto fixed that problem, but outside the cave was another problem. Someone was there. He had white hair and dark skin. He also had the characters for water and lightning tattooed to his shoulders. So you are the people who attacked Yugito, Naruto, Namikaze and Hiden. The man said, not looking too happy with them. Only sending one person. Kumo sure is getting cocky. Naruto said. Don't worry, more will be arriving soon. I was just sent her to investigate. The name's Darui, by the way. Hiden, get out of here. We don't want Kumo to retake what's ours, Naruto said. Hiden reluctantly agreed and stated, walking off. I'm not just going to let you walk out of here, Darui said. Then you'll have to go through me, Naruto said, stepping in front of Hiden. Let's see what you've got. If you insist, Black Panther, Darui yelled, sending a wave of black lightning at Naruto. Well shit, this is actually a problem, Naruto said, dodging out of the way. The reason Daru's lightning was a problem was because Naruto's couldn't reflect it. The reason he could reflect it was because he had never encountered it before. Naruto's reflection worked like an index. He would find out the equation for an attack and then add it to his reflection so that attack would always be reflect. But if someone used an attack that Naruto had never seen before, then it wasn't in his index and couldn't be reflected. But there were a number of ways around this problem. One was to have a test run of the attack, for example when Orochimaru had subjected Naruto to demonic chakra until he found out the equation for it, which was the reason the Yugito's demoic chakra wasn't a problem. The second way was to have prior knowledge of an attack. For example, the Frist Hokages would release while Naruto never encountered, and doubted he ever would. He was pretty confident his reflection would work on it since he had done research into it. Of course, Naruto would never know for sure unless he encountered it. The third option is what he would have to do now, figure it out on the spot. Naruto started repelling the ground beneath him, so he was slightly hovering. Let's see what you've got, Naruto said. Darui started shooting his black lightning and kunais at Naruto. Naruto, now not affected by the friction of the ground, dodged all of the attacks. It looked like he was skating on ice. Naruto wasn't just dodging, however. He was thinking. Over the years he had developed a pretty good way to discover the equation of an attack. First he would pull the equation of the attack that was most closely related to the attack he was trying to find from his index. This one was easy, lightning release. Then it was just the simple task of finding the difference between the two attacks, and the more the attack was used the easier to become to figure it out. This actually caused his opponent to be trapped in a loop. They couldn't use the attack that could actually hit him too often or it wouldn't work anymore, but they couldn't use other moves because they definitely wouldn't work. This was the reason Naruto was dodging both the lightning and the kunais. He didn't want Darui to realize that only his black lightning was effective, and Naruto's plan worked like a charm. Darui kept shooting his lightning, never knowing that he was just handing Naruto the information needed to beat him. Naruto did figure it out about 3 minutes into the fight thanks to all the times Darui spammed it and how similar it was to regular lightning release. Naruto was done with running, skating around and charged Darui. Darui smirked, obviously thinking Naruto had lost his mind, and fired his black lightning at Naruto. Imagine his surprise when it came right back at him. He had to shot his lightning again just to negate his own attack. Naruto meanwhile hadn't stopped his charge and was now right in front of Darui. All he had to do was touch him and it was all over. Naruto could feel his finger brush over the hair that covered one of Daru's eyes. Naruto walked his fingers around, nothing. Naruto turned his head so fast you could hear the crack, but Darui had just disappeared. Where did he go? He was right there. Naruto thought. He looked around some more, but there was no one, it was only him. Naruto, not having any reason to stay, left very confused as to what had happened. Naruto would have no way of knowing this, but he wasn't alone. There were two people watching him from afar, one of them the very man who had disappeared from his sight. The other the strongest man in the whole village, the fourth Raikage. Thanks for saving me. I'm sorry to have been such a bother. Darui apologized to the fourth. Don't worry about it, there was no way we could have known that it was Minato's son. Said. But you should have known about his abilities from when he killed that Genin team when we thought he was Accelerator. I'm sorry I never read that report. Darui said. Well, at least it appears I was too fast for him to see, so now he'll lead us back to Yugito. Said, watching the young Namikaze leave. Oh son of Minato, no matter how powerful you think your defense is, once we find Yugito you'll know what true power is. A thought as he called in his Anbu to follow Accelerator. He didn't want to attack him because finding Yugito was much more of a priority. Naruto wasn't that stupid, however. People don't just disappear, so just because Naruto didn't know how Darui got away, he knew that he was going to be tracked back to Hidden. Naruto would just have to show Kumo that Darui wasn't the only one who could pull off a vanishing act, and so Naruto would never learn of the true power the Raikage was speaking of. At least for now. The next mouth only proved the Akatsuki were a force to be feared. The two tails and the four tails had been captured and are presumed dead. The meeting that Minato had wanted before the Akatsuki made their move was finally coming to pass now that the other villages had been attacked. The meeting might have been late, but at least it was going to happen before things really got out of hand. The meeting would take place in the Land of Iron with a samurai overseeing it. All the great nations would be there plus Takagakure, since they had finally admitted to having the seven tails. The rules of the meeting were simple. The leaders of the villages would reveal any information they had on the Akatsuki and hopefully create a pact to fight against them. Minato wasn't going to mention his daughters as part of the Akatsuki though. All the Jinchuriki were also required to be present and each leader was allowed to bring 2 guards. Minato would be taking Jiraiya and Itachi and of course Naruto. Kushina had begged to go, but Minato didn't want Minima to be left alone. The trip there was uneventful, but the arrival was a little overwhelming. It started out with Naruto being ambushed by a girl with green hair almost before she walked in the door. Hey, so you're Konoha's Jinchuriki? Finally another girl. All these boys Jinchurikis are so antisocial. How many tails do you have? Do you want to be my friend? The girl rattled off, leaving Naruto no chance to answer. Minato chuckled at the scene. Well Naruto, I better head to the meeting room. You'll be called in a little later. Until then you can wait in the lobby with your new friend. Minato said, walking off with Jiraiya and Itachi in tow. Naruto sighed. It was just like Minato to leave her with someone she didn't even know. She turned to look at the green-haired girl. I'm Naruto, I don't believe I got your name. I'm Fu, she said, pointing to herself and putting on a big grin. I'm Jinchuriki to the 7 tails. I like to swim, train and play. I'm the Jinchuriki to the 9 tails. Naruto said. Wow, so that means you're like the strongest one here. Fu said with a spark in her eye. I doubt it, I'm sure some of the other Jinchuriki are way stronger than me. Naruto said, wondering what was with this girl. She acted like a child. So you said the other Jinchuriki were antisocial, does that mean they're here? Naruto asked, since she really did want to see what the other Jinchuriki were like. Hopefully they were a little more normal than this Fu. Why do you want to see them? They're all boring. Let's do something fun like tag. Fu pouted. Can you please just take me to them? Naruto asked. Fine, but don't blame me when you're bored out of your mind. Fu said, crossing her arms in front of her chest. Fu led Naruto to the lobby where all the Jinchuriki were gathered waiting for the leaders to finish their opening decision. Naruto was a little surprised that none of them had guards. After all, Jinchuriki were prime subjects for kidnapping, but one look at them told Naruto that they didn't need guards. They all looked really powerful and Naruto honestly kind of found herself overwhelmed. The first guy she noticed was a tall man wearing red armor with most of his face covered up, but was most shocking was the steam that seemed to be coming straight from his skin. Naruto made a quick note not to mess with him. There was also a guy in a blue kimono and he was blowing bubbles. The last one of the group was perhaps the strangest. Naruto could tell he was from Kumo by the way he dressed and his headband. He was rapping to himself, something that the Jinchuriki in red seemed to find very annoying by the look he was giving him. So much for them being normal. Naruto tried to start a conversation with them, but they either shot her down or started giving her a rap concert. Told you so, Fu said when Naruto had to wander back in defeat. Let's do something fun now. Naruto was about to say something that would let her get away from Fu, but someone handled that for her. You may all enter the meeting room now. A samurai said. All the Jinchuriki made their way into the meeting room and stood behind their respective leaders. Now that we're all here, we can get down to the real business. The Raikage said, obviously having not enjoyed the per-meeting discussion. First, let's go through what has already taken place. The Chuchikage said. The Akatsuki have already managed to capture the 1, 2 and 4 tails. The 2 and 4 tails Jinchuriki are most likely dead. Onoki said, giving a pretty dirty look to Gaara. As such, the reaming Jinchuriki are Han from Iwa, Utakata from Kirk, Fu from Taki, Killer Bee from Kumo and Naruto from Konoha. The 3 tails is unaccounted for. We've already lost 3-tailed beats. How the hell could this happen? The Mizukage said. I didn't see you rushing to fight the Akatsuki. Gaara said. I didn't see why I needed to. I kept a hold of my Jinchuriki. I don't see why you couldn't when he was inside of you. Mei said with a smirk. Don't talk about my brother like that. Temari said with her hand on her fan. Calm down, we're here to fight the Akatsuki, not each other. Shibuki, the leader of Taki, said. I agree. Onoki said, making everyone calm down. Now back to business. As a united group, we know very little about the Akatsuki. Onoki said, eyeing everyone at the table. All the information is divided among the leaders, and the point of this meeting is to let everyone at this table know, so who would like to go first? Everyone at the table stayed silent. No one wanted to be the first to spill their information, but finally, either because she wanted to gain respect since she was a new Kage or she just wanted to get it over with, Mei started talking. It is highly possible that the Akatsuki had a connection with the 4th Mizukage. How was he connected? Minato asked. That I don't know. All the information was destroyed, and any of the men still loyal to him we killed by an unknown Akatsuki member, although we only found out about him being Akatsuki recently. Mei said. That's just I dead end. I said, not looking impressed with this information. Also, the new Ibari was stolen during this time. Mei said. Minato eyes widened just a little bit upon hearing that, but luckily no one noticed. Alright, who's next? Onoki asked, but this time no one stepped up to the plate. A few moments of awkward silence follow before the Raikage finally spoke up. Why did we even call this meeting if no one has any helpful information? He yelled, glaring at everyone. Fine, I don't see why I should tell you this since none of you have put anything on a table, but I know the identifier of 2 Akatsuki members. This caught everyone's attention. Well, tell us, Mei said. The 2 Akatsuki members that captured Yugito were hidden from the now deactivate Yugakure and Naruto Namikaze, the son of the 4th Hokage. I said, finding the shocked look on Minato's face highly enjoyable. Minato, did you know about Naruto's involvement with the Akatsuki? Onoki asked. Even though Minato had 1,000 thoughts racing through his mind, he kept his cool. No, until now I assumed Naruto was a regular Rougenin, but in light of this new information I would also like to identify one of the Akatsuki members. Minato said, trying to shift the blame away from him just a little bit. Deodara from Iwa, and there is also a possibility that Sugetsu from Kiri is part of the Akatsuki since he was helping Naruto when we first encountered him in the Land of Frost. There is also a possibility that Orochimaru is part of the Akatsuki, but information suggests he left quite some time ago. There is also Sasori from Suna, but he was killed by my wife and her team. Quote. Now we're getting somewhere. Onoki said. We should discuss a plan of attack immediately and send a task force to recover the 3 tails. But what about Naruto? We can't just ignore the fact the Hokage's son is part of the enemy force. They could be helping the Akatsuki. I said, not happy his big jab to Konoha and just been dismissed as another piece of information. Calm down, Mei said. From what I heard, Naruto was stolen as a newborn by Orochimaru, and not to mention that Minato said his wife killed one of the members. I doubt the Leaf is supporting the Akatsuki. I started grumbling in his chair after hearing that, but he was about to get help from a very unlikely candidate, Gaara. While I don't believe the Leaf is supporting the Akatsuki, I can't help but notice that Minato has failed to give us some very important information. Everyone once again turned to Minato, who had a panicked look on his as well, hidden as it was. Could you please tell us this information you believe I've been keeping from you? Minato said. Gaara sighed, obviously having wanted to give Minato the chance to speak for himself, but he hadn't. While I don't believe they're main members, they are definitely affiliated with the Akatsuki, and they are Hanabi Hyuga, Hitomi Uchiha and Mito Namikaze. Also they have possession of the Nuibari and the Kiba swords. That was the final nail in the coffin. Everyone turned to Minato with an anger and untrustworthy look, and Minato could understand why out of all the identified Akatsuki members, Leaf Nin made up more than half, and 2 of them were from Minato's own family. The only question was, how did Gaara find out? The only person from Suna that saw the girls was Chio, and she was dead. Meanwhile behind Minato, Naruto was shaken so bad that it was noticeable to the whole room. After all, this was the worst thing that could have happened to them, and it was all her fault. This meeting was shaping up to be everyone against the Leaf. That will be it for this video. If you want more, comment down below, like, subscribe. And see you guys later.